The Meizu M2, Meizu's low-cost solution. Does this make an impact in an already overcrowded segment? Is the Meizu M2 worth your time and attention? Well, let's find out. But before we do, if this is your first time here, or in case you just can't remember, my name's Ash, this is C4E Tech, and you're watching my full review of the Meizu M2. Let's get started. As always, let's start with the built-in design. The M2 is built like almost every other Meizu phone. Nice to see that Meizu, unlike other Chinese OEMs, has an actual design language and sticks to it. The phone is just 8.7mm thick and weighs in at about 130 grams, making it light and ergonomic. Thanks to the rounded edges, this phone's a pleasure to use single-handed. The back is made out of plastic and is non-removable, meaning the 2500 mAh battery is non-user replaceable. The Meizu M2 uses a hybrid slot that's present to the left, so you can pop in either two nano SIM cards or a SIM and a microSD card here. We have a 5-megapixel camera to the front. The major change from most phones is the presence of a single physical home button at the bottom. Let's talk more about this later. We have the primary microphone, USB OTG supporting micro USB port, and a speaker that sounds average at the bottom. There's a 3.5mm headphone jack up top and no secondary noise cancelling microphone. But even then, call quality and cellular reception was quite good here on the Meizu M2. The volume rockers and the power button are present to the right, and the 13-megapixel camera sits to the back along with a single LED flash. The build quality seems good here. Meizu's gone with a 5-inch IPS LCD display covered by Dragon Trail glass here. This is a 720p display, meaning a pixel density of 294 pixels per inch. That's quite acceptable in this segment. The display is nice, sharp enough, good viewing angles, the colors are natural. If you aren't satisfied, you even have an option to play around with the color temperature. The brightness levels, though, aren't the best. Sunlight legibility, as a result, is subpar. Underneath the hood, the M2 is powered by the 64-bit MediaTek MT6735 chip. Now that's 4 Cortex-A53 cores clocked at 1.3 GHz each, coupled with a Mali T720 GPU and 2 GB of RAM. The M2 also has 16 GB of onboard storage. With synthetic benchmarks, it performed as well as can be expected from a phone in this price segment. And with gaming, it wasn't great. The M2 managed to drop frames even with games like Riptide GP2 and Leo's Fortune, something most phones in this segment have no issues with. But that said, most games were still definitely playable. Now, all this is powered by a non-user replaceable 2500 mAh battery, and the battery life was quite decent. On a looping video playback test, the M2 lasted a little over 8 hours before running out of juice. With regular day-to-day usage, I was able to easily get through a day of moderate usage on a single charge. My moderate use involves an hour or two of music via Bluetooth, 3G and Wi-Fi on all day, a lot of social media, WhatsApp and whatnot, a bit of videos and about 2 hours of calls. With this kind of usage, I ended most days with about 20% left in the tank. It's also worth noting that the standby drain is quite low, and Meizu's included a few different profiles to let you get the most out of your M2. Now, like I said, the M2 sports a 13-megapixel rear camera, and let's start with the software. The shutter response is quick, it's relatively quick to focus, swipe down to access the different modes. There's even a real manual mode included that lets you set focus and shutter speed among others. You can also swipe from the left or right to quickly switch between these modes, select the filters from the bottom, or get to the settings menu for the regular camera backend options. The pictures shot with this camera were average. The colors and exposure were spot on, but detail just wasn't there. The dynamic range was subpar as well. Under low light, these issues were heightened. This camera can shoot 1080p video as well, and the resulting footage is just about acceptable. The same issues from still images return. The 5-megapixel front shooter is adequate for selfies though. And on that note, let's talk software. The Meizu M2 runs on Meizu's own custom Flyme 4.5 built on top of Android 5.1 Lollipop. Now this brings with it quite a learning curve thanks in large to the key implementation. If you notice, there's only one button. You need to tap it to go back, press it for home, and slide from the side for recent apps. Additionally, long pressing it locks the display. While it might initially seem convoluted, it actually isn't. It's quite intuitive and nice. Talking about recent apps, the M2 only lists the last 8 apps here, but the memory management is good. Most times, all 8 are retained in memory, letting you easily swap back and forth between apps shown here. Like with most Chinese interfaces, there's no support for an app drawer here. All apps go right onto your home screen. The settings option can be selected from the notification bar too. These are little things that might take you time getting used to, but they aren't really a con. In fact, Meizu's done quite a nice job optimizing the software, and Flyme 4.5 on the Meizu M2 feels smooth and fluid. Yes, apps might take a second to open, but it's quite a smooth implementation nonetheless. Given that I tested the gaming first, I was actually expecting the M2 to not perform well, but the fluidity took me by surprise. Anyway, other Chinese regulars like a theme store or Personalize in this case, and a security center are present and do work well. Meizu's done a great job here. With that, let's now get to the price, and the M2 is available for 7,000 rupees here in India and for about 120 US dollars internationally. At this price, it's a little easy to overlook its flaws, making the M2 a phone to consider if you're on a budget. And if you are someone tired of using mainstream user interfaces, Flyme 4.5 is definitely something new, and the M2 might be the cheapest option for you to try it out. The M2, while a good all-rounder, just doesn't have anything in particular over other phones in this price range. Nothing to actually make it stand out. But if gaming performance isn't very important to you, this isn't really a bad offering. Me personally, I find the Redmi 2 Prime and the Euphoria better buys, but not by much. So there you have it, my 2 cents on the Meizu M2. Do you agree with what I've had to say in this review? If not, let me know what is it that you don't agree with in the comments below. If you do want to pick a Meizu M2 up, you can do that from Snapdeal here in India or Banggood.com internationally. I'll leave direct links in the description below. Do use them if you want to help the channel out. So I guess that's it for this video. You know what to do in case you don't. If you liked it, if you disliked it, if you have any constructive criticism to offer, head on over to the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. So that's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this is Ash here from C4E Tech signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye bye now.